Hi, and welcome to another segment of my channel. I really appreciate it, wherever you may be on this glorious August 13th on a Friday. Where I'm at, it's in the afternoon. It could be different where you are. But today, I'm going to be interviewing or asking Jan from New York City.
Hey,
Say,
Steve. Hi, everyone.
hey, Jan. Um, how are you today?
I'm doing very well, considering it's extremely hot and humid.
Yeah, I know. Same goes for me where I'm at. But I'm going to be asking her a few questions about, back when she was a teacher, and I think I think this is going to be a great segment. So what I wanted to do, Janet, I'm going to go ahead and ask you the questions that I do have written down here, and we'll just.
Absolutely. My pleasure to answer them, Steve.
All right. What was your biggest challenge when you were a teacher?
Okay. There were a number of challenges, and this is like very important to point out to anyone that is a parent of a school age child. One of the biggest challenges that I myself personally, I can't speak for every teacher, but in my honest opinion, if you really want the optimal best situation for your child, our students, to get the maximum value in their educational process, is to keep, for parents as well as teachers, and teachers as well as parents, keeping that open communication going with the parents. And I'll tell you why I say that, Steve. Sometimes some parents think, well, they go to open school once a year. In our case, it was every November, the Sunday before Thanksgiving. We'd meet the parents and everything and give an overview of the person, the student's first report card of the year, which usually occurred around November. And then that would be it. And maybe perhaps send a letter home on occasion. But I think it's very important for parents to keep that open communication with teachers and feel free to contact a teacher if they have any questions or concerns. Because one thing that is mutual is that the student is the most important part of the equation, of the circle of the parent, the student, and the teacher. The student, at the end of the day, and the education that that student receives is of utmost importance. That's one of the challenges, Steve. Actually, I have another one that I'd like to mention. Is that all right?
Yeah, feel free. That's
Oh,
fine.
thank you.
Yeah.
Another challenge. Now, this one is personal for me. I was a catechist, taught Catholicism in a private parochial school. And the theory, I don't know if it's still this theory, but the theory was in my day when I was teaching that God, we consider that God calls specific people, the laity to the classroom to teach religion. I taught every subject: religion, English, spelling, reading, math, penmanship, social studies, and science. Did I forget anything? Oh, I also did art.
Oh, okay.
So, yes. So, but the challenge was purely financial. And I do not understand why teachers of private parochial schools get an amazingly much different salary ratio as opposed to their counter teachers in the public school system. I
Um,
actually don't understand that at all. We have families, we have our own children, and we go home and we have to pay the bills just as well. I'm just a little puzzled about that. This is in New York. I don't know about other states, and I could like clearly tell you that in general, every catechist that I've ever known has correct situations of those financial challenges. So,
oh,
an answer to
wow.
that.
That's yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I just now on my what you just happened to mention, me throwing in my 2 cents on that is it's amazing how, and I'm not really sure how it is down here where I'm at in Florida, but
Yeah.
I feel, and I myself attended Catholic school for a couple of years. And yes, it definitely is a learning curve over going to public school. That's to be expected no matter what. Well, it was when I went. I'm sure when you went, but I feel because of a harder level of learning and the tuition that the parents had to pay out, and the tuition is not cheap a lot of the time.
No, not at all.
No, the private school teachers should have earned more than a public school teacher had. But that's how I look at it. They don't see it that way, but that's how I see it.
I would have been just as happy with equal, not even more than. It's just the idea of it just doesn't make sense, especially in a self-contained classroom with all subject matters.
Yeah, I completely agree there. Now, my second question I had for you is, did you ever retain a student?
For the most part, never. I had to retain one student, and here's the situation, and it broke my heart. It just left me flabbergasted for the whole summer. I didn't like to do it. The student arrived in April. The student was not going to school came in from another country, wasn't getting educated for some reason. So effectively, that student was not on the level of being actually able to get promoted to the next grade. That would be very taxing for that young child.
Mm-hmm.
And I mulled over it. I prayed about it. I spoke to the principal about it, and it broke my heart. Teachers have to live with a lot of heartbreak sometimes, believe it or not, because we're moms too, and it would have been the wrong thing to just let the kid go through. Now, I know there's this thing called social promotion. But where I was, and at that year, there was no social promotion. Either you were able to get, promoted or not. That's how it works. So it was very, very challenging, but I had to do the right thing for that particular student. It was in the student's best interest at the end of the day.
Yeah.
How could they possibly understand the following year's work without getting the full benefit of the current year, which that poor child had nothing, zero?
Yeah.
Hard decision.
Yeah. In that case, I can understand, why, you had to take those necessary steps, because also he's showing up the way he did. Okay. He showed up in April. Well, by the time April rolls around in a school year, you're already 80% of the way through the school year.
Right.
So I can see where, if you had went ahead and promoted him to the next grade.
I had a lot of things to weigh out on that one. Keep in mind, also wouldn't be fair to the rest of the students who were there,
right,
who did that work. So there were like many, many things I had to mull over. I prayed hard. I, spoke to the principal. I said, I'm baffled about this and everything. Teachers do not have it easy.
No.
They do not. I'm not saying all teachers are great and marvelous. They, like in any profession, there are some better ones than others. That's just how it goes.
Right.
But this teacher, yours truly, I really cared about my kids.
Yeah. And that right there, more than anything, as far as I'm concerned, is what matters when it comes to being a teacher. Because if you don't care about your students, you might as well just get your things and go home and let somebody else come in and do what they have. I completely agree with that. Now, my third question to you is, of the grades that you taught, what grade would you say was your favorite?
We're like supposed to appear neutral and everything. First of all, I never planned on teaching at all, but that's its own video, which one could find. But the one that I received was to teach in grade 3. I taught grades 3 and grade 6. Honestly, I lean towards really partiality of preferring teaching grade 3. The reason I didn't care for grade 6, the challenges are completely different. You have, I hate to bring up the word, but you have puberty going on, and the girls are distracted by the boys, and the boys are distracted by the girls and everything else, and just like complete utter nonsense. And minds are far away, but because it was this constant focusing, where a younger student is more apt to stay, believe it or not, focused on the task at hand. This was my experience, okay? Where the older ones, they seem to be ready for the world in their mind's eye anyway. But
Yeah.
we all have a lot of growing up to do when we're only in grade 6.
Yeah. 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 You know, in that case, the way that, I look at it, all of us already know girls mature faster than boys. I would say there's probably right around a 3-year difference between, whereas a girl, she may be mature at 10 or 11, like,
Yes, yes,
whereas with a boy, it's closer to the 13, 14, or a
yes.
little bit. But if you have a boy and you got all these girls, that have gone through a certain cycle, and I'll leave it at that. I think
Yes, yes. I understand.
to your subscribers as well. I know this much: it's not hard to preoccupy a boy, because
Right.
if a girl does something to a boy and it sparks his interest, he's going to want to tune in and see what it's about.
Right. And this was the era, which is your era, by the way.
It
You
is.
might agree with me. This
Yeah.
is the era before, smartphones and cell phones. Kids still were passing physical notes like the way somebody in my generation was.
Yes.
They were still, this, that. And you really want to keep their attention going and focused on the subject at hand. At least, that was, the thing for me. But Steve, if you have any other question, I have a couple of back to school tips I'd like to give.
Actually, I have one other one, and that
Good.
is a pretty simple one.
Good.
The fourth question I have is, would you consider, because I know you've been out of it for quite some time,
Yes.
would you consider going back to teaching the way things are now?
In this current situation,
Yes.
I take my hat off for any teacher of the current time of now. The challenges you guys and gals face, God bless you. At this time, if someone offered me a teaching position, I would politely have to say, no, thank you. It's just not the right time for me. It's just not, everything was perfect for its time. Everything in life occurs in due season, and that was absolutely my time. It really, really was. But I really have to say, I really bless and pray for all the current teachers and the parents and the students with all the additional struggles that are occurring in general in this situation.
Mm-hmm.
So unequivocally, I would say I would have to politely decline on that offer.
Well,
hopefully with my YouTube channel, I still get to teach and give some tips and tricks.
Well, let me just say this on the other side of the spectrum. I myself, would I want to go to school in today's society? The answer is absolutely not as well. The answer is no, because I'm not used to learning in the same fashion as kids are today. I'm not used to going to school with a small tablet or a small laptop to do a lot of my studies. That's not how I learned. Back in my day, it was a backpack, it was textbooks, it was notebooks,
That's right.
pencils, and paper. And that's all you had. And you wrote out your answers on paper.
That's right.
For me, honestly, you get a better level of learning and teaching that way than you do through letting a computer show
Steve,
you.
because I taught your generation specifically, nothing beats chalk and a blackboard or a whiteboard and a marker. It still works.
Yeah. You said you had a couple of one or two things.
I do. It's back to school time, and this is the time of the year. It's a fresh start, a new beginning. But one of the greatest tips that I could offer to any parent of, younger students, elementary age specifically, keep habits and routines on a regular basis. Believe it or not, kids like routine. Maybe grown-ups don't. Not all grown-ups. Some do, some don't. But for children, it's very important. It's very important that they know when it's time to get ready for bed, when it's time to have their clothes laid up for the next day, when it's time to eat their breakfast, when it's time to do their homework.
Yeah.
That's the biggest one. Homework
It
is huge. You know something, Steve, regarding homework? Homework habits have effectively saved some of my other students from not getting retained. I was not the type of teacher that only based a promotion on test grades. I checked their overall performance as a student. Did they attend school regularly?
Mm-hmm.
If they were late, did they have a written note from a parent or a doctor?
Uh-huh.
Like habits like that. Did you do your homework? Did you study? Did you at least try to study for your test? This is very important. So the best thing I could pass along is develop a routine that's workable and viable for both your child, your student, and for yourself.
Yeah, I'll go along with that.
When
Yeah.
I was a kid, Steve, I knew like the back of my hand. We got home, we had a little snack. Mom had a snack ready all the time, and it was homework time. No such thing as going out to play or hanging out watching TV until our homework was done. Now, some people don't do that, and they rather do it later on in the day. But that wasn't my family. I'm not saying that that's wrong. It just wasn't my family. It doesn't matter what time, unless, well, don't do it late. That's for sure. Too late, you're too tired. But make a habit of homework. Get it out of the way early. I always told my kids, my students, get it out of the way early.
Tell you make a good point, and I'm gonna basically back what you just said. People don't realize either that if the student, when they get home, sit down, maybe have a little something to drink, a little snack, as you mentioned, and go and do their homework, their brain partially is still back at school, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
So okay, example, if you do your homework, let's say 4:00 in the afternoon, let's say you're at home by that point, you'll get in, let's say you get an A-. But if you wait and do your homework, say after dinner, 6:30, 6:45, you'll get a C. See the difference?
Absolutely. And one more thing, Steve, before we go.
Okay.
This is what I did with my student. Not one student ever received homework on a weekend in all my years teaching. That just was not a thing that would happen. Neither did I give them homework over their Easter or Christmas vacation.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the reason why it didn't happen on Fridays. No homework on Fridays. Because it was a reward. If you did your homework Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, your instant automatic reward was you were not going to get homework over the weekend.
Over the weekend.
So the reward thing really works. And they worked towards it. They earned it. They learned to earn, and they got a good result.
It's funny that you mentioned just that right there, because my 4th grade teacher, who did believe in me and thought a lot of me as a student, was like that.
Oh, good.
She was one that would not give the class homework on a Friday either. She was followed in your suit with that. But this particular teacher, to this day, I still know Roman numerals as well as I did when I was, 9 or whatever age I was, 4th grade. And I have to share this, and then we'll conclude. She taught me a little saying about where the solar system, it's a little sentence, and it has to do with where each planet lies in the solar system. It's very easy to figure out, and I'll be glad to tell it to you.
Sure.
My very eager mother just sent us 9 pizzas. Each one of the first letter of each word will tell you exactly where each planet is located.
How do you like that? That's a great teacher.
If you think about it, Pluto, I hope I have my planets right, because Neptune is not the last planet, it's next to the last. It's Mars, Venus, Earth, Mercury, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. As long as you remember that little sentence, and anybody's more than welcome to.
That's fantastic. Here you are. Let's say you were how young when you? What grade were you in?
This was 4th grade, so this would have had to have been about the year you started teaching. So. Okay,
so therefore, we're talking about 31 years ago, and you remember that amazingly.
Well, no, it goes back. No, it's more than 31. I'd say closer to 36 or 7.
Oh, you know what I'm thinking? Oh, that's right, because I started. That's right. I started in '84. Forgive me. Yeah,
It's about
math
the
was
time.
sixth grade. Never was good at math, everyone.
Oh. It was about that time. It was, yeah, 84, 85-ish. We're in that,
Right,
we're in that period.
right.
So, but Roman numeral, I know we don't really use it, but you see it on TV all the time at the end of a movie. And that little sentence,
Absolutely.
I will take, I know I with God's help, I'll be here for quite a while longer. But those two things from school, I will take to my grave,
Absolutely.
to put it kindly. But all righty. Janet, again, I appreciate you tuning in. I really did enjoy the interview.
Thank you for having me
Yeah,
anytime.
absolutely. And everyone, again, thank you for tuning in. Much appreciated.
Best wishes to the students and their families during this upcoming school year.
Absolutely. Just want to tell everybody, to have a good day or whatever time of day you're at. And we will see you next time. Take care, everybody, and have a good one.
Bye-bye.